Welcome to So That's How That Happened. I'm your gossiping bestie, Jess, and today we are talking about the ultimate sister-sister rivalry. That's right, we are talking about Cleopatra and her younger sister, Arsinoë. And not a lot of people talk about this, but they really should because it's fucking insane. These two literally bring the term of sibling rivalry to a whole other ancient Egyptian level. So without further ado, let's gossip like we're handmaidens eavesdropping behind a silk curtain in the palace. In order to first talk about these two badass women, we have to talk about how we got to this to begin with. Cleopatra and her sister Arsinoë were part of the family Ptolemies. These were a Greek ruling family who ended up ruling Egypt after Alexander the Great split the empire. And they were ruling all of Egypt, even though they had no Egyptian blood in their body. And they ruled it like a really messy reality TV show, just full of scandal and betrayal and intermarriages. So let's talk about all of the players in this game, including a brother husband. You heard me right, brother husband. So first things first, the main bitch of the hour, that would be Cleopatra VII. She was politically savvy, highly intelligent, and just an expert in surviving, as we will come to find out. Then we have her sister Arsinoë IV. She is a younger sister, ambitious, and willing to challenge Cleopatra for power, which is a big fucking deal, especially from your younger sister. Then in comes the brother husband. That would be Ptolemy XIII. And yeah, again, brother husband. You heard me right, and we're just going to leave it at that. And then because apparently the parents couldn't think of better names, then we have Ptolemy XIV, who is the younger brother. And then we have Bernice IV, who is the older sister of all of these rapscallions. And she had ruled just ever so briefly before being executed. The Ptolemies family motto might as well be, why fight your enemies when you can just fight your siblings instead? These siblings were a powder keg waiting to explode, and that happened after the death of their father, Ptolemy XII. He died in 51 BCE, leaving Cleopatra and her brother husband, Ptolemy XIII, in charge to co-rule. Mind you, at the time, Cleopatra was 18 years old, and her brother husband was the ripe old age of 10. During this time, Arsinoë is still around. She's just kind of observing, and she is only a year older than Ptolemy, so 11 years old at the time. So we have the 18-year-old sister, 11-year-old sister, and 10-year-old brother husband. Cleopatra was an extremely strong and independent person, and this translated into her being queen as well. She tried to rule alone because clearly, when your brother is 10, you think he's stupid, because he probably is. He's 10 years old, and you are a full-grown old lady at this point at 18. And so she attempted to rule Egypt alone, and this caused a civil war to break out. Clearly, Ptolemy XIII's advisors hated our girl Cleo. Like, she is this badass who was taking charge, running the country by herself, so they end up exiling her to Alexandria. Now Arsinoë, who has just kind of been like chilling in the corner waiting for her opportunity, saw it and came in to take that place that her sister had now vacated in her exile. But you know our girl Cleo, she is not just going to let that slide. She ends up smuggling herself into the chambers of Julius Caesar. Some people say she was wrapped up in a carpet, some in a linen sack, but period, the determination of this girl to find herself a good sugar daddy is applaud-worthy. Who needs to slide into DMs when you can just slide directly into their bedroom? Now again, Julius Caesar is the ultimate sugar daddy in this situation. He is older, he is rich, he is powerful. Think of him as like the George Clooney of Rome. Cleopatra knew exactly how to work her charm on him. Charm, if you know what I'm saying. And Julius Caesar saw her both as a political asset and, probably just someone to do a little hanky-panky with too. It didn't help that she was fucking beautiful. And being the good sugar daddy that he is, he decided to help our girl Cleo with her claim to the throne. So now Cleo has the backing of Julius Caesar's army. She goes back to Egypt, fights her brother Ptolemy the 13th, and during this, Arsinoë is like, well, I'm not gonna fucking die here with our weird brother husband, and goes off to join the Egyptian resistance. And this was a big move. Like, she was not a captain about to go down with the ship. She had other shit to do. Bitch said, hold my wine, and ran off to join the resistance. We now have Arsinoë, who is just 15 years old, declaring herself Pharaoh of Egypt. I guess the Egyptian resistance really liked her, and she's declaring herself Pharaoh of Egypt, and is essentially taking her army to go have a smackdown with her sister. Look, my sister and I had some pretty legendary smackdowns. None of them involved troops. For a hot minute, it kind of looks like Arsinoë is going to win. They have won some major things, caught them in a palace, lit it on fire, and then the Battle of Nile happens, and this is 47 BCE. Our girl Cleo and her boy Caesar's forces ended up winning this battle. Ptolemy the 13th drowns in the Nile while attempting to escape, because again, he is a child. And Arsinoë ended up being captured by her sister and her inappropriate friend. Julius Caesar ends up taking Arsinoë and marching her through the streets of Rome as a weird sort of war prize, which they usually only did with major leaders and criminals. Mind you, this is a 15-year-old girl. Rome didn't really like that. They thought it was a little weird that you're pouncing around this 15-year-old through the gates. It's not a good look, Caesar. Not a good look. So the Romans, thinking it would be an even worse look to have a 15-year-old girl executed, they end up exiling Arsinoë to the Temple of Artemis in Ephesus. Now Arsinoë is exiled. Our girl Cleo is pharaoh, but also bedoinking her kind of buddy, kind of fuck pal, kind of political helper, Julius Caesar. That is until Caesar's assassination in 44 BCE. And then Cleo just goes, no bother, and moves on to Mark Antony to support all of her war and sugar daddy needs. Cleo is starting to get a little nervous because even in exile, Arsinoë is still a threat. One of Cleo's many enemies could use Arsinoë as a figurehead for a new rebellion, therefore taking her throne yet again. Most historians believe that our girl Cleo did in fact proposition Mark Antony to have her sister assassinated. Like, I just imagine Cleo snuggling up to her boy Mark Antony and going, baby, wouldn't it be so romantic if you had my little sis murdered? Just, what do you think? Just for a little present to show me how much you love me. Even though it was a huge religious crime to do so, Roman soldiers stormed the Temple of Artemis and killed Arsinoë. And this was a big no-no. You don't fuck with the gods. It's seen as just total damnation at that point. Like, you're fucked, essentially. You do not kill on grounds dedicated to the gods. So now with the quote-unquote threat of Arsinoë taken even out of existence, Cleo thought she had completely won. And that's when karma, the bitch that she is, comes back around. And that is because in 30 BCE, our girl Cleo eventually lost to Octavian, future Emperor Augustus. And that's when we will cue and cut to her quote-unquote legendary death, because there's a famous story that may or may not just be ancient world clickbait, where Cleo had been bitten by an asp, which is like a type of cobra, which may or may not have made sense because also her handmaids were in that tomb with her and they didn't have any snake bites, and you would have to have a really well-trained snake to bite you and all of your handmaids to die at around the same time. Many historians now believe she actually took poison to take her life a lot quicker, but you know, the spider story is just a little bit cooler. So you think this might have been the end of Arsinoë? That's where you would be wrong, friends. Because in the 1990s, archaeologists found a tomb in Ephesus that may have belonged to Arsinoë. And if this is true, and it ends up being Arsinoë's tomb, which they haven't fully determined yet, then she would be the only known burial of the Ptolemaic royalty. Absolutely insane, because her sister didn't have a proper burial, either of them, because her older sister was also executed. Her brother drowned in a river. Who fucking knows what happened to the other brother? It's just a matter of her being buried there. And the question is, did she or not? And that was our story of Cleo and Arsinoë, the ultimate sister rivalry. It's like these sisters were trying to play a game of Game of Thrones, but make it Ancient Egypt edition. If you loved today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and follow me everywhere you get podcasts. Follow me on Instagram at So That's How That Happened. Got a historical scandal you want me to cover? Slide into my DMs or comment on my latest post. And check out our Patreon for special goodies and surprises. And as always, you gossipy bitches, stay scandalous.